Hello everyone, welcome. I don't want to waste your time, so we will quickly get into the materials needed to create this cute pumpkin turtle. I hope that you enjoy. The materials needed to make this cute pumpkin turtle are as follows. Parfait chunky yarn in key lime, tangerine, shell, and finally espresso. This is for the stem of the pumpkin. You will also need scissors, 2 stitch markers, a yarn needle, 2 12mm safety eyes, and stuffing. To make the turtle, you will need a 5mm crochet hook. For the leaves and stem, start with 11 single crochets into a magic ring. If you cannot do a magic ring, do the chain 2 method where you chain 2 and in the second chain from hook, place your 11 single crochets. Next step, chain 1 and turn. Now, slip stitch into the first stitch and chain 4. Working back down the chain and the second chain from hook, make a single crochet. In the next stitch, half double crochet. In the last chain, do a double crochet. Now, slip stitch into the next stitch in the magic ring, chain 10. You just made a leaf, now you will make a curl. Once you chain 10, go back down the chain, placing 2 single crochets into each chain spot. When you finish that, you should have 18 single crochets. Slip into the next stitch, chain 4 and make a leaf. When you're done with the leaf, make a curl. When you are on your last one, you should have 5 leaves and 5 curls. On your very last curl, slip stitch into the very last stitch of the magic ring and fasten off. I leave a tail of about 6 inches. I pull out the working yarn after I cut it. Now I will take the ending tail and move it to the back and double knot with the starting tail. Then I cut off both tails with about 1 inch to 1.5 inches left, because this will be sewn underneath your leaves when you sew it to the turtle. For the stem, we start with a magic ring with 4 single crochets in the magic ring. After that, I place 4 increases, meaning 2 stitches in each previous spot. When I'm done, there should be 8 total stitches. For rounds 3 through 5, you single crochet each row of 8 stitches. So row 3 or round 3 has 8 single crochets, round 4 has 8 single crochets, and round 5 has 8 single crochets. I like to turn my work after round 4 and tuck the tail into the body of the stem. After I turn my work, I put the stitch marker back in place and I finish the last round of 8 single crochets. When I'm done, I fasten off with a long tail. So my tail is around 8 to 10 inches. If you want to stuff this, you can. It doesn't really take that much stuffing because it is so small, but you don't have to stuff it. I go ahead and thread my yarn needle and sew the stem to the leaves. I do make sure that my knot is on the bottom. I go through the center of the leaves, which is the center of the magic ring, and just gradually go around the stem, sewing it to the leaves. You can set this aside once you are done, but do not cut the tail because you will use it to sew to the body, eventually when the pumpkin is made at the end. Now we will work on the front flippers. You need to make 2 of these. So first, for round 1, we do 6 single crochets into a magic ring. For round 2, we do 6 increases, meaning 12 stitches when you are done. For round 3, we place 1 single crochet, then an increase, which means 2 in 1 stitch, and we repeat this around, placing 1 single crochet, then increase. When you are done, you should have 18 stitches. Round 5, we have 3 single crochets, then an increase. Repeat around, and when you're done, you will have 30 stitches. Round 6, we have 4 single crochets, then an increase. Continue that around the piece, and when you're done, you should have 36 stitches. This is the last round of increases for the front flippers. After this, we will start to form the flipper. For round 7, we fold the piece in half. Tuck your tail into the center and fold the work in half. Now, take your crochet hook and insert through both sides of the work. You should go under 2 sets of stitches. Make a decrease stitch. You need to make 8 of these. All the time working through both sides of the work. On the very last stitch, we put 1 single crochet. Pull a tail about 6 to 8 inches long and cut. You need to make another front flipper. However, this time your tail needs to be about 12 to 15 inches long, because we have to take that tail and sew it through the flipper to make sure the tail comes out on the opposite side. The front of these flippers is actually the edge that you just did all the decreases on. So we want our tails to be on opposite ends so that they will sew properly onto the body of the turtle. You also need to make 2 back flippers. To do this, we repeat rounds 1 through 5 of the front flipper instructions. Then you will fold in half and make 7 decreases across the edge. And for one flipper, you will have a 6 to 8 inch tail. For the second, you need to have a longer tail and do the same method of running it through to make sure that the tails are on opposite ends. Now for the tail. The tail is actually exactly like the stem. We will start with a magic ring with 4 single crochets. Then place 4 increases meaning you will have 8 stitches when you are done. For rounds 3 through 5, 8 single crochets in each row. And remember to turn your work after round 4. After turning, tuck the tail into the work and continue with round 5. After round 5, fasten off with a long tail of about 6 to 8 inches that you can use for sewing. Your tail is done. Now for the head of the turtle. For round 1, we place 8 single crochets into a magic ring. After that, round 2, you will have 8 increases, 16 stitches when you are done with the round. For round 3, we place 1 single crochet, then an increase. Repeat this pattern 8 times, and when you are done, you should have 24 stitches. Round 4 is a little different. To begin, we place 6 single crochets. After those 6 crochets, we place 2 single crochets, then an increase. We continue the 2 single crochet and increase pattern around the rest of the work, and when you are done, you should have 30 stitches. So we place 6 single crochets, then you begin the pattern of 2 single crochets increase for the rest of the round. Round 5 goes back to a normal procedure of crocheting in the round. We have 4 single crochets, then an increase. Repeat that all the way around, and you should have 36 stitches when you are done with the round. For rounds 6 through 11, place single crochets in each stitch. Each round will be 36 stitches. Round 12, you place 4 single crochets, then a decrease. When you are done with the round, you should have 30 stitches. For round 13, we place 3 single crochets, then a decrease. Repeat around, and when you're done, you have 24 stitches. For round 14, we place 2 single crochets, then a decrease. When the round is finished, you should have 18 stitches. After this round, you fasten off with a long tail, at least 15 to 18 inches. This tail will be used to sew the head to the body of the turtle. You need it long so that you have enough to go completely around the shape. Now it is time to add the 12mm safety eyes. I like to find where my ending spot is and make that the center. Flatten the head, putting the tail into the center position on the bottom. Now go from the starting ring at an angle up between 5 to 6 rounds. Place an eye. Using the line of the round, I trace over to the opposite side and try to make them as even as possible. It does take a little maneuvering, so take your time with it. Say you want your eyes closer or farther apart, it's up to you. Then I use my thumb to hold the eye in place and slowly flip it inside out and put the backing on, making sure to get this as tight as possible. And then I repeat for the other eye. Some people hot glue their eyes into place, others use yarn. It all depends on your preference. Now for the shell/body. Make a magic ring and place 10 single crochets into this magic ring. For round 2, we will place 10 increases. When you are done, you will have 20 stitches. Round 3, we will place 1 single crochet, then an increase. Continue this around the pattern. When you are done, you will have 30 stitches. Again, round 4 is a little different. We will first place 6 single crochets. After those 6 single crochets, place 3 single crochets and an increase. Continue the 3 single crochets and increase around the rest of the work. When you are done, you should have 36 stitches. For round 5, we will place 5 single crochets and then an increase. Repeat around, and when you are done, you will have 42 stitches. Round 6, 6 single crochets, then an increase. When you're done, 48 stitches. This is the last row of increase for the shell. So you're getting very close to doing a color change into the body color. Rounds 7 through 12 are the same thing. 6 rounds of single crochet. Each round contains 48 stitches. Before you begin round 13, mark the back loop of the very first stitch with that second stitch marker that was in the materials. You won't do anything with it right now, but you will use this in round 14. Now for round 13, working in only the front loops, we will half double crochet into every stitch. That will be 48 half double crochets. As you can see, it is a little tight to start because of that second stitch marker. That's okay. Just wiggle the hook into the front loop only and slowly make your half double crochets. When you get to the very last stitch, form your half double crochet, but before you pull your yarn through to complete the stitch, change your yarn to your shell color and pull it through to change colors. Now, I like to go ahead and go into the second stitch marker spot, and working in the back loop only, I make my first single crochet. Round 14 is nothing but single crochets in the back loop only. It looks a little messy, but go ahead and take the stitch marker out once the stitch is complete. Find your working tail or working yarn and crochet over the tails for a few stitches. Remember to replace the stitch marker once you get past the starting point. Go ahead and cut the shell color. You will no longer need that. And in the back loops only, single crochet. As you can see, I like to roll my work a little bit so that I can find that loop from the previous round. It just makes it easier for me. This can be a little difficult for people who aren't used to working with this type of yarn. So if you would prefer to make this the first time in normal acrylic yarn, I have done it and it comes out quite cute. The plush yarn just makes it softer. Don't forget to do the very last stitch. It is a little tight and hard to find. The stitch marker is actually in the very first stitch, so go ahead and remove it and replace it in the very last stitch that your hook is next to. Round 15 is probably the hardest round. It has a very distinct pattern, so go ahead and pause the video here. I will leave this card up for about 30 seconds. Working through both loops, follow the pattern that's on the screen. When you're done with this round, you should have 48 stitches in round 15. If you get a little bit confused, I am doing the entire round on the video, so you should be able to count my stitches. Round 16, we start our decreases. You will do 6 single crochets and then a decrease. Yes, you are working directly into the chains from the previous round. Yes, you will have decreases that fall on those chains. It is part of the plan, and when you're done with the round, you should have 42 stitches. But please do not work in the gaps that those chains have created. You work directly into the actual chain itself. Round 17, we do 5 single crochets and then decrease. When you're done, you should have 36 stitches. This round should be a little easier than the previous because you have that base of a normal stitch now. Now it is time to attach the pieces. I first attach the stem and leaves, mainly because I can get to the underside of the shell. If you want to wait till the end to do this, you can. I just like doing it because I can tie the tail within the body and not have to worry about it later. So I just insert the needle into the very center of the shell, get the leaves and stems seated properly, and sew it into place. After I sew it, I like to take the starting tail of the shell and tie it with the tail of the stem. Then I just leave the tails within the body, and I don't have to worry about cutting them. Now, the front of the shell has this little lip where your half double crochets don't quite meet up. This is the actual front of your turtle. You need to place this facing away from you when it is upside down. As you can see here, I've got it towards the top of the screen, therefore it is away from my body. My stitch marker is also in the same position. I will take my front flippers. These flippers go in the chain 4 gaps made in round 15. Remember that the front of these flippers is the decreased border along the edge. My extra long tail flipper happens to be on my left side, so it's the left side of this video. I go ahead and insert through the gap, and I like to pull the flipper just a little bit into the actual hole, and I will insert my needle into the flipper, just the part that's inside the body, into the flipper, and into the edge of the gap that we made in round 15. And I sew through the flipper and into the body all the way around. This isn't a speed contest, so take your time. I am not a very good person to sew, so I like to make sure my stuff is really secure, especially since I have a little Dachshund who will try to take any and all plushes that I make. So I want them to be able to withstand her accidentally getting them. So as you can see, I am quite slow about this, but I want to make sure that this will withstand small hands pulling on them, small little mouths trying to shake them apart when a certain little Dachshund gets a hold of them. I will repeat this on the other front flipper. For now, I just drop the tail into the body. When I'm done, I double knot these tails together, sometimes even quadruple knot them. And then I just drop the remaining tails into the body. That way you don't have to cut tails. I will repeat this around with the back flippers, making sure that they're all facing the same direction, and I will also sew the tail in the same method. I like to try to connect as many tails as possible with knots. This does make it harder for the pieces to work their way out after time because they're all tied together. Leave the tails long within the body so you don't have to worry about short pieces working out over time as the piece relaxes from just sitting still. After all the pieces have been sewn on, I will grab my crochet hook and we will start back with round 18, and we will do 4 single crochets and then a decrease. And when you're done with the round, you will have 30 stitches. Round 19, we will do 3 single crochets and a decrease. When you're done, you will have 24 stitches. For round 20, we do 2 single crochets and then a decrease. After round 20 is the time to start stuffing. Now, you want this to be plush and very soft, but you also don't want to stretch out your stitches. For round 21, we will do 1 single crochet and a decrease. When you're done, you should have 12 stitches. After this round, you have one last chance to add any stuffing if you feel like your turtle needs to have a little bit extra. So go ahead and add any extra stuffing that you feel like your animal needs. And then for the very last round, round 22, we place 6 decreases. If you do have a little too much stuffing, you can always add an extra round of round 21 to help your stitches be tighter, or just remove some of the stuffing. Once you are done with all your decreases, pull a long tail, about 10 inches. Cut the yarn, and then Find your yarn needle. And once you have your yarn needle, thread the yarn. And slowly weave in and out of the final hole. I usually only hook the front loop. I go out and in, back and forth, until I go all the way back around to my starting position. And then I gently cinch the hole closed like a drawstring. Then I will reinsert my needle and tie a knot. Insert my needle back into the body and pull the yarn string through. And I just continue weaving this throughout the underside of the turtle, tying multiple knots. These are stopping points in case that yarn ever breaks in any position. And I just weave my long tail throughout the whole underside of the body. To attach the head, I use these 2-inch decorative pins. Go ahead and stuff the head. Shape the head how you want it to look, making sure to keep the tail out of the stuffing. Mold the head to how it should be shaped, and then my head is actually sewn on below the shell. You can sew it directly straight, below the shell, even with the shell. It's all up to you. I will pin it in place to see how I like it, and then once it is pinned, I will slowly go around the head and sew it into place. And as you can see, I am not shy when it comes to using the pins to hold it in place. This just makes it easier for you to sew. Another good option would be to take like a chopstick or a skewer and go directly through the head and into the body to hold it in place. You just need something to keep it from moving around when you try to sew. Once the head is attached, you can add a little blush if you feel like it. Once the blush has been added, your turtle is done. And I hope that you enjoy it. And I hope that you have fun making many more.